Welcome to the Communicating Capital podcast, where finance and communication get a fresh perspective. Hosted by a dynamic team of women in the industry, we're here to redefine the conversation with candid, no-nonsense interviews featuring top executives, communication experts, and industry leaders. So whether you're a seasoned professional or you're just interested in our world, we're here to help you navigate the space in new and exciting ways. Today, I'm joined by Jamar Jones. He's the visionary founder behind Foureva Media. Jamar has worked with incredible clients, and he's secured hundreds of thousands of dollars in sponsorships through his podcasts and his events. He's a former hip-hop artist, and he shared stages with Snoop Dogg, T.I., Common, and at one point was doing 100 shows a year. And these were all self-booked, all self-promoted, which is insane. And totally beyond his entertaining past, Jamar is a keynote speaker, and he's the author of Change Your Circle, Change Your Life, which I'm sure we're going to get into during this podcast. Jamar, welcome to Communicating Capital.
Oh, it's good to be here. Finally.
Finally. I'm so happy to have you on. You have made quite the journey, starting out as a hip hop artist who booked and promoted your own shows to now running this thriving branding and media agency. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of how you got here?
Yeah. I mean, I got a very unique path. And I didn't plan any of this.
I love that.
I didn't plan any of it.
I love it.
So I was a hip hop artist for 11 years of my life. I opened up for artists like T.I., Snoop Dogg, Keisha Cole, Common, Bone Thugs and Harmony. And at the peak, I was doing about 100 shows a year. And until unfortunately, I tore my vocal cords performing at the University of Minnesota. And it's like 3 shows in one weekend. And I just overused my voice, the number one instrument that I needed at that time. And I was doing motivational hip hop music. That was kind of like my theme or my vibe that I was doing. So I had a fan base and everything. Like, I was making money from music. Like, everything was cooking. And then boom, got hit with it. And at the same time, so I was also working in IT. So I did IT for 8 years. So I have a very unique, like I said, background. So I worked my way up from a technician to an IT manager. And unfortunately, 46 people lost their job. So we all got let go. Big layoff happened. And then that's when I launched my business, Foureva Media, which has been going now for 10 years. And I launched it really like anything I was kind of good at is where it started with. Because like I said, I didn't really plan exactly to be here today. But, you know, through everything I learned from the entertainment side, I just figured out at a point where I was like, I can apply this to business.
Yep.
You know, like I have branded, marketed, promoted, booked everything myself. And then I started to do it for others especially when I got into like a lot of the business space. Businesses just really struggle like with messaging and branding and how to market themselves, and they get caught up in the minutia of just day-to-day activities, and they just don't understand the entertainment or the to make themselves like more appealing, more attractive to an audience. And I'm like, dude, I know how to do this stuff. I've done it for myself. I could do it for others. And so once I made that epiphany, that's when the business started to take off. Because it was very easy for me to, you know, market that of something that I've already done. I could do it for others, and I know a ton of different strategies that work.
Love that. And you just said that businesses struggle to market and brand themselves, as do entrepreneurs and everybody that is trying to make a name for themselves, or if they're trying to grow their business or trying to help anybody. Why is personal branding such a critical component in today's market, and how do you approach it differently from traditional branding agencies?
Yeah, I just think, especially now, as technology has advanced, social media is kind of growing and it's becoming its own beast in these different platforms. I think particularly for service-based entrepreneurs, that personal branding is one of those ways that you can stand out against your competitors, because your competitors suck. They suck at marketing themselves. They really do. They might actually have a decent service. They might actually kind of can help some people, but they're really bad at getting the message out there to the masses. And most times, as long as you're in front of people as an option, as a choice, they're going to pick you.
Right.
You know, you just have to show up a little bit more than them and do things a little bit more than whatever they're doing, which is like, we're at the bottom. People are barely doing stuff. So what makes personal branding so important is that people want to buy people at the end of the day. And if you can show up as authentically yourself, the things that move you, your values, your morals, and people can relate to that, and you're going to attract the people that relate to that, which ultimately are going to turn into really good clients for you. That's the power of personal branding. And then when you put a lot of content out and you're putting out this messaging, it just lives out there on the internet and it's constantly selling for you. So the more that you're putting out those assets out there into the world that are constantly selling for you, the less work that you have to do as to like really market yourself and branding. You always have to stay on it, but the more assets that you have out there, the bigger impact that you can create for your business. And really what stands out from us that makes us unique is that I'm coming from an entertainment perspective on a lot of stuff that we do, right? I mean, I essentially figure out like, hey, I can see somebody, what potential they have, what sets them apart, what makes them different, but in a unique way that's entertaining, and almost look at them like an artist, because everybody is so different, so unique in their own way. Even if you feel like you're not, you are. There's something about you that's a little different, a little special. It's a little bit of a different mixture. If you think about a cocktail, like you put these different ingredients into it and you get a different cocktail, and like there's different names for all these different cocktails. Essentially, they all have kind of some similar ingredients to them, but there's different tastes, there's different applications, places that you may have these cocktails. So you have such a unique identifier to you, and you got to know how to get that out to the marketplace.
I love that you're saying that. I actually just had somebody on the podcast, and I was talking to an investment bank recently, and they were telling me that it is a bet on the management team. And so when you have the CEO, if it's a small company or if it's a publicly traded company, they're betting on you. And so it's not just up to you to bring the spirits up of your entire team, your entire company, but you also want to engage the market to show why your business is investable and why people want to come to you. So I think you're hitting the nail right on the head in that sense. So I love hearing it. Can you give us an example of something that you've done before? Like, how have you turned someone's brand into a revenue generating machine?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. So like, all right, let me think of just a couple examples actually, that I can share. So one is we work with an influencer on LinkedIn. She had over 1 million followers across all platforms. Her main platform was LinkedIn.
Amazing.
And she had an audience. She had a business, a coaching and marketing business. And really what she wanted to do is like build more connection with her audience. Mm-hmm. And so we actually implemented and had a strategy around events. So we actually did an event in Milwaukee, Denver, and Orlando, Florida. And so there's different events, and these events were to drive revenue into our business. But not only that, just also create content. We actually did something a little bit more than what we normally do, is that we actually did the whole execution for the event.
Oh, nice.
So we did found the sponsors, vendors, partners, promotion, like everything. Literally, she just kind of just showed up.
Love it. Makes it so easy. That's perfect.
Basically what happened. But through those experiences, it generated well over $75,000 of revenue, but also 500 plus attendees for people that were registered for the events, sponsors, and then also not to mention just the spin-off business that she got from coaching clients through that experience. And the other thing is, it's also about the brand building within that, because she had never did that before. And so once she started to do that, like her audience, like, oh my God, I got to go to these kind of like exclusive pop-up events that she's throwing. So I started to create more brand loyalty throughout the process of doing that. And another case is a current client that we have. So she runs she's in the divorce space, so financial divorce space. So she helps women that are going through a divorce. And really what she was struggling with first is a brand, but also like growing it, and figuring out the mechanisms to be able to get her from the revenue that she was at and get her to over the 7-figure mark. And so the strategy with that was first, like, let's look at your customer journey. So that's like a lot of times what we do with it's definitely service-based businesses, look at the customer journey. Most times there's missed opportunities there. People just think like, hey, because you're so focused on like, hey, I got to get clients. Okay, lead comes in, I have a call. Okay, let me either figure out if we're a good fit, or, maybe it'd be a different time. Some people don't even have follow-up systems in place. Some people don't have a good closing, mechanism to be able to close clients. They don't know how to kind of like regenerate the power base of people that they've talked to before. So there's so many more missed opportunities within just the customer journey. And then also, like, what offers do you have for those people? So sometimes it's about curating what the offer and distilling down what you're really good at and offering something unique to those customers. And so we developed a unique offer. And so within 3 months, she got $160,000 of business.
It's amazing.
Within 6 months, or within 3 months. And because of this unique offer, but also the thing is that it was a higher ticket offer that we crafted. So it was also something way bigger than what she's used to selling. And we said, like, no, you got to get comfortable with this because you're providing so much value. We showed it all on the piece of paper and everything, and got that into her business. But also she was able to grow her brand at the same time as we featured it in Times Square in New York. And then she was able to get some speaking engagements through it. So it's a very complex kind of way and approach, but all in all, it's about looking at your pipeline and your customer journey of like, how are you engaging with your audience? Mm-hmm. And then how are you building your credibility? And then how are you showing up on stages? How are you making sure that you're the only choice that matters?
I love that. And I'm actually going to pivot back because you just mentioned sponsorship and success and everything that goes into that. And I know that you've had quite a lot of success when it comes to landing sponsorships for some of your clients. Can you share with us a little bit about the secret sauce to landing this large
Yes.
deal?
Oh
tell
my
us
God,
all.
I love this stuff.
Tell all.
I love this stuff. And you got a podcast too, so you need sponsors.
One day.
You need sponsors. So, okay. So, and you don't have to have like a Joe Rogan podcast, right? To get sponsors. So the way I've been able to generate well over $350,000 worth of sponsorships up to this date is really the ability to tell a story. Mm-hmm. That's the best thing. So first, you have to position your podcast correctly or your event correctly. So understanding like what are the stats that make you like successful, in the endeavor of podcasting or an event. So for instance, for a podcast,
I'm taking notes now for us.
Go for it.
Taking notes.
So a lot of people don't, they go, episode after episode after episode, mm-hmm. but they don't ever consider, hey, total, what's the amount of downloads that I've gotten? Total, what's the amount of impressions or views on all the social media content that we've posted? Like total, like every single post, add up the view counts and say, hey, we've reached X amount of views, X amount of impressions, X amount of engagement. And when you start to total these numbers and then also say, what are the top 3 most like influential podcast guests that we've had on? And you give them like a really fancy marketing-esque bio. And so that to show like, hey, we're getting really great people on this podcast. We have tons of views, a lot of downloads, or it's on the up trajectory of downloads. Even if you have something where you're getting like 10,000 plus downloads, if you're in that spectrum, you are well over what it takes to get a sponsor. Because the thing about podcasts is that it's very targeted. It's not a shotgun approach. Like you have hardcore listeners that keep downloading your episode every single time. So it's very targeted. So if you know your audience of who you're speaking to and you talk to companies, I advise doing small companies, not very large ones first, because big brands, yes, it's sexy to work with them as far as to have that logo and say, hey, you got a big brand with you, but it takes forever to find the right person to talk to be able to say yes to sponsor your thing. So I would start with small to medium-sized companies that already value you as a person, as the personal brand, and also value your podcast. The people that already are rooting for you in your corner and say, hey, do you want to sponsor this thing? Maybe you just do a sponsored episode. Maybe you figure out, a 15 or 30-second ad placement. Maybe it's product placement. Maybe it's something unique. Maybe they want to have a segment and say, hey, this segment is brought to you by X, and we're going to ask the whoever guests. Like we have Visit Milwaukee sponsors our podcast. and that's a tourism bureau for Milwaukee. Now, what's the problem with Milwaukee? Not a lot of people know about it. Jessica, have you ever been to Milwaukee?
I have not. No.
You have not been to Milwaukee, so you have no clue like what Milwaukee even has to offer. Maybe you've heard some things, cheese, beer, probably.
Brewers.
So like you don't fully know. So they sponsor our podcast because we interview incredible guests, right, on our podcast that probably haven't been to Milwaukee. So we have a segment that we get to ask them, like, hey, have you ever been to Milwaukee before?
I love it.
And then we get that immediate reaction. They take that clip and they push it out on social and they use it for ads. So they're now like, they've gotten, so we interviewed Tony Robbins' son, Jarek Robbins, on our podcast. And so he told a whole story about Milwaukee and Wisconsin and stuff on there, about a tour thing that he did. And he spoke somewhere in Madison. So it just got this, it's organic, really good content around that. Where now the trick of this, though, is that you have to talk to people and you have to figure out what their goals are. A lot of people create these packages, these tiers. You ain't ready for all that, especially if it's your first podcast sponsor or event sponsor. You just have to talk to them about like what are their goals, and you have to get a little creative. But you do have an asset. I want everybody to know that you do have an asset with your events and your podcast for people to be able to be activated in that asset. Because once again, a lot of people suck at content. They really do. I mean, this is not rocket science. You can look around. It's hard. It's hard to generate real good content that's authentic and it really hits home for people. And so people want to partner with that stuff. So it's about getting creative with the offer. Don't come up with all these fancy decks. And it's about how you're presenting your assets or your podcast or your event.
I love it. I actually love that. That's so useful. There are people that listen in that have their own podcasts or they have their own events. I know we have some companies that even run their own events for clients. So this is very interesting. One thing that I do know about you is that you have the most extensive network. And I know that because I met you through somebody else that I know that has the most extensive network. And I feel like you all are able to make such strategic introductions for your clients, which is so, so helpful. I'd love to know how you built such a strong network initially and what advice you can give to entrepreneurs that are looking to forge meaningful connections similar to yours.
Yeah. Love this topic. So I wrote a book called Change Your Circle, Change Your Life. The whole thing is about the how-to guide to change anyone's life. Like it literally, if you read it, there's action steps in the book, takeaways, and things that you can apply to your life right now. And if you did every single one of those, oh, your life's going to change. Like no question. Now the outcome, that's really up to you. I don't know. I mean, by the people you meet, by the things that happen, a lot of great things could happen, but you'll probably be in a better spot than where you're at right now if you did every single action step. And so how I built up the network, it goes back again to music. Like when you're in the music business, there is no playbook in music. It's all relationships. You got to be able to know how to get into rooms, sneak into rooms. You got to know how to meet these people that are super busy, super important and influential. If it's a booking agent, if it's a promoter, if it's so the actual artists themselves, if it's somebody to help you with your PR, maybe it's a manager, like you always are trying to get into these rooms, a producer, engineer. And so I just took everything that I've learned about how to change my circle and get into these rooms. So one is brand positioning. So that's number one. So you have to look at yourself and say, why the heck would somebody want to talk to me? First of all. Not a lot of people do this. They don't. They're just like, oh, I got good stuff to sell. I got good stuff to do. Do you? Do you really? Why does somebody want to talk with you? What do you have to offer? And what makes you interesting? Mm-hmm. And writing those things down, just like within dating, you write down like the qualities and the things that you want in a partner and all these other things. You got to do that for yourself. Like, what are your qualities? What are your unique things that make you stand out? What are your talents? What are your skill sets? What are you really, really good at? What value can you actually bring to somebody? So that's step one, is your brand positioning of who you are and what value do you bring. So that way now you know what you have to offer to bring into these rooms. So when you're meeting somebody, so when you do meet somebody, there's a couple things I want you to do. So one, is I want you to shut up and listen. That's one. So you don't do all the talking. You let the other person do all the talking because you're listening for cues about how to add value to that person's life. I didn't say sell something. I said how to add value into that person's life. So once you meet somebody, you want to hear the triggers of like, hey, maybe you could help with something that they said. Or maybe you know somebody that can help them with what they said. And once you start adding value into people's lives, eventually they're going to like, okay, well, Jamar, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do then? Like, you're giving me all this, like, give me intros, give me all, like, okay, how can I help you? And then you start, now the tables have turned. Now you have leverage. And so now you can create leverage with the relationship and be able to then say, hey, well, you know, what would help me is that if you know people that meet X, Y, and Z, that's who I'm trying to get in front of right now. Do you know anybody? And then if you had to know, who would it be? And then just, and that's how you add value and build relationships. So it's always giving more first and asking later. You don't really have to ask up front. That's where people mess up. They're just asking people for stuff, like with their hand out. And it's like, we're too busy for that. Everybody's too busy for that, you know? And it's not, we're not a charity. So you have to add value into people's life. And then you compound, you know, that again and again and again. So do that with your current circle, the people that you have right now. And then you're going to start to snowball, and you need to say yes to every single opportunity. So the thing is, like, to get into new circles, when you have an opportunity that presents itself, you have to show up.
Yeah.
You can't just be like waiting around and be like this perfect thing to happen. Like, you got to show up. So like, I would, you know, spend money to go places. I would, you know, travel far to go places. I would take the risk to be in the room to have a shot. And I think the more that you're willing to do that has led me into some crazy places.
I love that.
and my ability to change my circle, which it's ultimately changed my life, which is what I teach people every single day.
I'm purchasing your book right after this podcast recording. I want to read it. I think that's so helpful. Actually, I want to go back because you're talking about brand positioning. There's something that I've seen about you where you merge the business side with the personal brand and you're able to build synergy between the two. Can you tell us a little bit about your process for helping clients balance those two identities and why is it crucial for their growth?
Yeah. I actually had to learn this the hard way, everybody that's listening. So actually a little bit ago, probably like, it was like 5 months ago, for the first time in 10 years of business, and plus if you add on to the music side, of 11 years of doing music, I hit a wall. Like, I hit burnout, which I never thought would happen to me ever. Cause I'm like, I love being in it.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you're always in it. You want to be in it. So yeah.
I love it. I do love it. But I hit this level of burnout. And so what I'm going to answer your question though, Jessica, is coming from a place of somebody that's already seen how low it can get. And also for others too, for our clients, it's funny because I preach that all day and then all of a sudden, boom, it happened to me. And I was like, whoa, I did not expect this whatsoever. The best way to balance out your personal brand and your business is systems. That is the best way. So you need to build systems because eventually your personal brand, like, you know, because I've worked with influencers, people that have, you know, millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're constantly having to pour into the system, right? You have to constantly keep creating content. You have to show up at these gigs and speak. You have to go on these podcasts. You have to constantly like exude your energy out. And your team's like asking always from you, like, we need this, do this, do that. And over time, even if you have success, right, and you're going up, it's going to weigh on you. So you have to build systems within your business to make sure that certain things are just moving without you. Mm-hmm. So on the business side, you need to build processes. You need to build automations. You do need to build, and you need to empower other people to essentially like duplicate yourself and be able to coach for you or consult or to be able to, you know, take on meetings or do these things that you know that you can trust them that have kind of the same wavelength as you to be able to produce for you. So that way you're not always the one. And I always tell people this, like, it's so funny because people are always like tell me the problems and all, all the stuff they got going on. And then I always put it in perspective for them. I'm like, look, if Gary Vee can run a gigantic media agency, right? And have all these other companies that he's a part of, and these V Friends and Ventures and all this other stuff, and he's the personal brand, right? He is the brand, and he can figure it out. You can figure it out. If Grant Cardone, I can go down the list of all these different people that they are the brand, and they're able to build this massive empire. Like, you can figure it out with your 10 people that you have on staff, and like,
it's all about the
and
people.
You have like a fraction of an audience, right?
Exactly.
You can figure it out.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. There is a way. You just have to build systems, and you have to empower people.
I love it. The empowering people is so important. I know with my team in particular, I am so grateful to be surrounded by such an amazing team who is able to take an idea and run with it exactly the way that I might, or even enhance it. So maybe I'll give them something and they're like, you know what, I love this. I'm going to move with it, but why don't we tweak it this way? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have thought of that even better. So I'm extremely lucky to have that. And I feel like as we continue to grow, they'll start putting in their own processes and so forth as it moves down the funnel. So I love that you're saying that. That's amazing. I did want to ask you about advice. And we do ask everybody about this on our podcast. If you had one piece of advice to give to entrepreneurs that are looking to amplify their brand, maybe secure bigger opportunities, scale their impact, what would it be?
Okay, I want to give two answers because I feel like there's two different types of people. So one is the person that is the perfectionist. Okay, you got to start. Like, you're never going to come out with this perfect plan. Your perfect plan, it probably sucks. Okay, so just start. You know what the best plan is? Is putting out a piece of content today, or putting out a blog post, putting out something. Like, just start to let people know about the things that you have going on. I put out a post the other day. It's so funny because I get in this conversation all the time where people are like, man, I need leads. I need to build my brand. I need more opportunities. And I'm like, I go on their social media page. They haven't posted in like 3 months. They haven't posted nothing on a free platform that has millions and millions and millions of people on it. And they haven't posted nothing. Oh, but man, I need leads, man. I don't know what to do. Start. I'm trying to come up with a plan. I need blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. You need to just post. And it's not going to be perfect. It's probably going to be sloppy. But who cares? No one's really looking at it that closely. So just start. So that's for the perfectionist people that are out there. The other type of person that's out there is that it's a person that's actually doing it, right? They're moving, they're doing it. Is really stop and clarify your message. So a lot of us are doing a bunch of activity and we are getting results, right? We are building the brand. We are getting some clients. We're moving forward, but we haven't really stopped to really articulate who we are, what we do, who we serve, and what makes us truly unique. Looking back at all our data, like how many clients have you served total? I love to do things in total because when we look at the bigger picture, we can really see impact. When we look at the bigger picture, this is like a PR. I'm teaching people some PR stuff. So like you got to show impact. And so when you total the amount of customers that you've helped, or the amount of money saved or money earned total for your clients, and you start to total up how many episodes total on your podcast, how many, you start to total up these numbers, and you start to look at who you are, and then you clarify really and distill down your messaging and rewrite your bio of from the personal brand side, but also from the business side, and then kind of squish those two together to make a really good foundation of who you are and who you represent, who you serve, and what you've done and what you've overcome. And really try to add some humanization to it as well. Don't just be all like business about it, the whole thing. Like, people want to connect with you. And so when you mold those things together and then start to launch the copy and the events and everything else around that, promotion, social media, email marketing, and with that kind of language and that foundation and base, you will see a huge change in your brand and how people perceive you in the marketplace. And it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
This has been one of the better conversations I've had in a while. I feel like I've learned so much. I'm captivated, completely captivated. Thank you so much for all of this. This has been so good. I do want to do one quick little fun thing before, because we did research you quite a lot, and we know that you have such a fun background in music. And usually it's always like business. But we want to know from you, what artists do you have that are on your radar that we might want to know about, that might be up and coming?
Up and coming. So that's funny, Jessica, because I don't know if I'm dating myself because I don't really keep up with too much of the new stuff.
I feel the same way. Coachella was last weekend, and I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. Yes. Thank you. I was like, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. That's so funny.
Oh my God, I don't know who these people are, but looks like they're killing it.
Yeah, I was like, this looks great.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not the best person to
That's
answer
totally
that.
fine.
I can tell you my favorite artist, hip hop wise, is Eminem. Just the wordplay. I mean, he's just the GOAT in my eyes. Love listening to his music. And then I got a lot of different like influences, especially when I was doing music, was like T.I., Young Jeezy. Those kind of artists mixing with like a little bit of Eminem. Those were like my influences of like style and kind of what I was doing at the time. But I have no clue.
I mean, I can understand, but it's good to hear that. I'd love to hear it either way. It's something fun and it's good to know about. And then one last thing before I let you go, because I know we're wrapping up on time. Do you have any last piece of advice or guidance or anything you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up? Yeah.
So most people, just because like most people operate in businesses as well, in patterns. When I've been doing this for a long time. And so this, like, people have kind of the same issues, like over and over and over again. So one is like, I really got to just drill home that in the grand scheme of things, right? People don't care about if you word something correctly, if you mess up in a video, I didn't like how I looked in that video. I'm not, I didn't put any makeup on that day. Like, oh man, I put out this YouTube video a while ago and like, I don't know what people are going to say about that, or things have changed. Like, people are not looking at you like under a microscope. So just feel free to try things. I believe in fail fast, like that kind of, methodology of like, just do things. If it fails, no, it's a learning lesson. So you now know either to kill it or refine, right? And figure out a better way to do it, but you don't know until you try. So fail fast, get out there and actually just start doing some stuff. It's okay. I mean, there's not gonna be a giant, like, huge press release about your mess up. No one, and then like, once again, it's about perspective. Like, if Kim Kardashian could, has a sex tape out there, and now she's a lawyer. She's doing she's got some of the biggest brands in the world. And like, yeah, the people back then probably still know about that. Yeah, they do know about,
But no one cares.
But no one cares.
No one cares. Yeah, no one
She's
cares.
still invited for fashion shows. She's still, so at the grand scheme of things, with public eye like lasered in on somebody of that magnitude of influence, can still get through it. You can too. You can get through it. So I just want to really emphasize that, because this is what holds people back. This is the negative self-talk.
Fear. Yeah.
The fear, that's what holds people back from doing these things, especially in the marketing and branding space. Mm-hmm. So please just do these things, because the outcome is worth the reward, worth the risk of you putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. I think that's so helpful for so many people, especially in today's day and age when we have so many different methods of social media. Everybody has a little bit of fear when it comes to it. So just take the plunge. Jamar, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. This has been great. No, I've had fun. Great questions. Great question.
Thank you. Great conversation. I loved it. And for our listeners who want to learn more about Jamar's work, be sure to check out the links in our show notes. As always, thank you for joining Communicating Capital.